What up, everybody? Welcome to the Sounds and Sights show with your host, Nick Signs, where the singular goal is to be a place for people that make music to learn, grow, and have some fun. Let's get into it. So this first segment, we're going to catch up on some of the top music making communities on Reddit and see what's going on the EDM production community this week is called Little Mixing PSA from a bedroom producer. And they posted, I feel like I've been seeing a lot of posts recently about my mix sounds unprofessional, etc. I used to have this problem as well, but within the past 4 months, I have figured out a way to solve this issue. Now, before we go any further, just a reminder that not everything you read on the internet is going to be good info. However well-meaning it may be, saying in 4 months you've solved how to make your mix sound professional, that's probably not true. And I don't think there is any malintent behind this post, but I think it's worth making the distinction between solving something and making a breakthrough. There are plenty of times in my own music production career where I've made breakthroughs. It feels like I've solved something that I've been trying to solve. But the thing is, after I get past that breakthrough, you find another wall, maybe a different wall that you didn't even know was there. So with art, you're never really solving a problem, because what is the solution? It's not a physics problem where there's one correct answer at the end, but rather you're experiencing different ways of doing stuff and adding tools to your tool belt to approach different ways that you want something to sound. So if I could have reworded this post, it would have sounded a little bit more like, hey, I found a new tool in my tool belt for mixing. Let's continue. The plugin, quote, spectral compressor, end quote, is actually a cheat code for amateur bedroom producers like myself who don't have a professional sound-treated studio to make music in. There is no cheat code for an untreated room. You're doing the best you can with what you have, and that's totally okay, but nothing's going to solve that, save for acoustic treatment. Try it out, because I have found that it balances my mix quite well, and I can apply other effects mixing to add on top of it. Again, this is coming from a person who is not a professional. However, I have quite a lot of hours in music production, and I feel like this really helped me actually like to listen to my music / help my mix downs. Again, these posts are never trying to put anyone in the wrong direction. So I see a bunch of comments on here. They're like, you can't do that. There are no cheat codes. So just as a little learning, when you see stuff like this, where somebody says, this is how you solve X in 5 minutes, you're not really solving it. You're adding to your tool set. So I think the overall message here is mostly nothing's going to be a one-size-fits-all solution. But that doesn't mean you should be afraid to try new techniques, try different ways of doing stuff. Even with this, maybe, I am very sure that this one plugin is not going to fix my mixes in perpetuity. It may be something interesting to try out. Maybe it does do something that I've been looking to try. Maybe it does do something that I actually like. So even though this post, I'm not taking it at face value, I know that this thing is not going to be fixing my mixes forever. It's worth trying. And hey, worst case scenario, it sounds terrible, I don't use it again. Maybe it does. Maybe it does do something nice. Maybe it's another tool in your tool belt. And that's how I think in general, people that make music, this is how you approach tips and tricks on the internet. Don't take it at face value, but still from a place of curiosity, give it a try, see what it does or does not do for you and your music. So, if you are anywhere in the music sphere, or even just in the planet that we call Earth, you've probably heard of what's been going on with Diddy and his drug-fueled parties called freak-offs. Now, on this show here, this is a safe place for people that make music. So I'm not going to go into the details of what Mr. Diddy Diddler may or may not have done, though judging by the 20+ page indictment, he probably did that shit. But what I want to remind you of, if you're listening to this in 2024 or later, the music world that you are in today is much more accessible. The gatekeepers, like Diddy once was, are dead. Anyone who tells you that they are the difference between you having a career and you having no career at all, they're not telling you the truth. No longer do you have to do these deals with the devil to get your career going off, if that's what you want. You can put yourself on. You have options. Every tool that they have, you now have too. Make the music that you hear in your head. Put it out there with the computer. Go to the library if you don't have one. Make a video with the phone that you have in your hand. Whatever you're using to watch this right now, I bet it has a camera. Use ChatGPT to ask questions to help you along the way if you don't have a big support group yet. I do it still to this day all the time. And over time, watch the world open up for you. Loading, 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 loading.
All of the skies, cause we're so afraid to end up alone. I said,
So what I've noticed is that generally that thump sound happens with some sound that is right before the kick, and then the side chaining is intense so that as soon as the kick drops, everything else that was happening right before it shoom goes down, and that's where the thump happens. Let me show you. So this is the tear out sound kind of stab itself. And you can see the main impact sound right here. What is, I think, especially interesting is that when you put these samples a little bit off the grid, so a little bit before where the kick hits, it adds to kind of that thumpy character. So I'm going to play it a few times. I'm going to move this sample around and see how it kind of affects the main sound. So let's check it out. So this is where it is right now. So by playing around with kind of where this sample ends up, if I put it a little bit before the kick ends up hitting, and this whole thing is being sidechained by the kick. So essentially like what the volume actually looks like is something like this, it's like this. It ends up with this nice big thumpy kick sound that I feel like I could never really get with just the kick alone. That kind of led to another learning, which is a lot of the character of these kicks in any song that you listen to is only I feel like 50% the kick itself. And the rest of it, a lot of the character of the kick is anything else that's layered on top of it. And especially the character of the side chaining that happens. So here, if we want to create that thump kind of kick, one way to try going about it is taking any sort of sample that's like a little bit more high-endy, like this. Little metering, it's pretty kind of in the hi-hat range. Could very well be a hi-hat. In fact, let's try it out. All right, well, I guess I'm not logged into Splice. We can maybe take this sample. So at the end of the day, I think something interesting to try is when you have drum grooves, when you have your kicks and you have hi-hats around it, definitely try moving those hi-hats, especially when they're around the kick, maybe inching them a little bit back if you want to give the kick all of that kind of crisp, or if you want to combine them together to kind of make this kind of sound, maybe try scooting the hat a little bit before the kick and potentially adding a little bit of side chain so that the two kind of interact and become this one unit, which to my ears can sound incredibly satisfying. Something to try. When you're going about creating your music, practice like you are playing in the game. If you as a artist, as a content creator, as a music maker, if in your head you have some goals, however realistic, unrealistic they might be. Example, I want to do a collaboration with Skrillex. Practice like you're playing in the game. Literally imagine if my best outcome goal came true tomorrow, what would I have to have in place for that to actually go well? So this is a real example that happened this week. So I responded to a singer's request. She posted on TikTok a little message that said, hey, for anyone that makes this type of music, which I make a bunch of, melodic bass, let me know. So when this opportunity came up, you know how long it took me for me to actually respond? Half a day to get all the songs that I wanted to send, organized, write descriptions for them, which is not that long at all. But the only reason that I was able to do that was because I practiced like I would play in the game. One of my goals is to be able to work with other artists, especially dope singers. So about 2 years ago, I thought of that. If my dream singer reached out to me tomorrow and was like, hey, let's work, would I be in a position where that opportunity would be able to be fulfilled? The answer at the time was no way. My files were named crazy shit like bloopity bloppity project 69-_5. And I actually went through the mental exercise of asking myself, if somebody really reached out to me tomorrow, if my dream opportunity came, I wouldn't be prepared at all. So I decided in that arena to practice like I was playing in the game. I made a song every single day for the next year. Every single song, I labeled it as if somebody were to ask me, I really want to work on this song. Can you find it for me? Or, hey, I really like X type of music. Can you send this to me? So I organized every single song that I've ever made. I named them with a standard naming convention. Potential song title, dash, BPM, dash, key of the song, dash, version, dash, little description of what I did for that session. I'm not saying that you have to be as compulsive as me when it comes to naming, because honestly, that probably came from 10 years worth of software engineering, the day job I was doing before I started doing this. But what I am saying is that whatever goal it is that you have in your head that you see as, hey, this is a huge sign of success. If it's working with X person, if it's getting on X show, if it's playing X stadium, or even if it's just, hey, I showed up this week to make some music. Practice like you're playing in the game. If your goal is showing up every week to make some music, practice like you're playing in the game. Put it on a schedule. Make time for it. If other people ask, hey, can you do something at Sunday night at 5? If that's your block for making music, sorry, my schedule dictates I got some other stuff going on. We'll hang another time. Practice like you're playing in the game. Probably said it 6 times, but I'll say it one more time because it's worth repeating. Practice like you're playing in the game. And then by the time game day comes, when that opportunity comes, you'll be ready. And even if it doesn't right away, you're doing all the right things. You're growing that muscle. And that feels good. That feels good. You're becoming better in the thing that you want to get better in, the thing that if you were firing on all cylinders, that would be a success. That's what life is. That's where artists feel at home. When you're just doing the thing that you want to do, locking down on it, you're honing in on it, you're getting better at it. That's the stuff of dreams. That's why we do what we do. You and I know that this thing that we do, it's taxing on your mind, your spirit, sometimes even physically. So in this Mindfulness Minute, you and I are going to take 1 full minute and we're just going to breathe together. I'm going to set a timer right now. 1 minute. Let's go. Thank you so much for joining our show. And as always, cheers to you, your music, and our journey as artists.